Imagine for a moment a Sumatran tiger living in a high-end sanctuary. This animal has achieved the pinnacle of biological success. It has 100% job security. It is guaranteed food delivery at 5 o'clock every single day. It has free health care, dental plans, and protection from all predators. It is perfectly mathematically safe. By all logical metrics, this tiger should be the happiest creature on Earth. But if you watch it for more than 5 minutes, you will notice something disturbing. It paces. It walks the same 12-foot circle, wearing a groove into the dirt. Its eyes are glazed over. It is lethargic, depressed, and physically weaker than its wild counterparts. It is suffering from a distinct form of misery that only exists in captivity. Now, look in the mirror. You are the tiger. Modern society has solved the survival problem so effectively that it has created a new, invisible crisis. For 200,000 years, the human operating system was calibrated for one specific environment: a world of scarcity, danger, and friction. Every calorie had to be earned with blood or sweat. Every night of sleep was a calculated risk. The default state of nature was chaos, and your brain evolved to navigate that chaos. But in the last 100 years, we flipped the script. We engineered a world of infinite calories, infinite entertainment, and infinite safety. You are drowning in comfort. You have a roof that never leaks, a climate control system that eliminates the seasons, and a refrigerator that eliminates the hunt. On paper, you have won the game of evolution, but in reality, you are losing your mind. This is not a philosophical problem, it is a biological one. Your brain follows a prime directive called the law of least effort. In a harsh environment, conserving energy was a survival superpower. If you found a fruit tree, the smart move was to sit under it and eat until you passed out, because you didn't know when you would eat again. Laziness was a virtue. It kept you alive. Your brain releases dopamine when you choose the path of least resistance because, for 99% of human history, that was the right choice. But today, that same instinct is killing you. We live in a world of abundance, but your brain is still running the scarcity software. When you choose the couch over the gym, or the delivery app over cooking, or the steady paycheck over the risky venture, your brain applauds you. It thinks it is saving you from starving in the winter. It does not understand that there is no winter coming. It does not understand that the abundance is permanent. So you sit in the gilded cage of the modern economy. You are hooked up to the feeding tubes of convenience and salary. You feel a vague, low-level hum of anxiety that you cannot explain. It is the feeling of atrophy. Just as the tiger's muscles wither without the stress of the hunt, your spirit withers without the stress of survival. We have mistaken comfort for happiness and safety for vitality, but biology is ruthless. Use it or lose it is not just a gym motto, it is the fundamental law of life. By removing all the friction, we have not just made life easier, we have removed the very resistance required to keep us human. You are safe. You are fed. You are comfortable. And you are slowly dying. Let's talk about gravity. If you send an astronaut into space, they experience a kind of immediate blissful freedom. They float. The burden of their own weight vanishes. It is the ultimate comfort. But if they stay there too long without resistance, their body begins to self-destruct. Their bones lose density. Their muscles atrophy. Their heart shrinks because it no longer has to pump against the force of gravity. This happens because of a fundamental biological law known as hormesis. Biological systems do not just tolerate stress, they require it. Your bones need the shock of impact to signal the deposition of calcium. Your muscles need the trauma of microtears to signal the need for growth. Your immune system needs exposure to threats to calibrate its defenses. Without the stimulus of friction, you do not simply maintain your current state. You disintegrate. Nature is an efficiency machine, and it ruthlessly deletes anything that is not being used. If you do not carry a load, nature assumes you do not need a spine. Now, look at the architecture of your daily life. We have spent the last century engaging in a systematic war against friction. We have engineered a civilization that functions like a zero-gravity chamber. We have smoothed out every rough edge of existence to ensure you never have to exert unnecessary effort. You do not have to hunt, gather, or farm. You tap a glass screen, and a stranger brings hot calories to your door. You do not have to tolerate the heat or the cold. You adjust a thermostat to a perpetual neutral 70 degrees. You do not even have to endure the friction of boredom or the effort of finding a story. An algorithm predicts exactly what will stimulate your dopamine receptors and autoplays it for you. We call this progress. We call it convenience. But your biology recognizes it as a signal to shut down. You are living in the friction deficit. You are never truly cold. You are never truly hungry. You are never physically exhausted to the point of collapse. You are never lost because you have a GPS. You are never lonely because you have a feed. You have removed all the microstressors that kept your ancestors sharp, tough, and durable. The result is a profound structural fragility. Because you never face the microstressors, you are losing the capacity to handle them. When you remove the daily resistance of life, your tolerance for discomfort drops to zero. This is why modern people crumble under pressures that would have been laughable to previous generations. A slow internet connection triggers a rage response that used to be reserved for starvation. A difficult email feels like a physical assault. A minor inconvenience ruins your week. You have no armor because you have never had to wear it. This soft decay is dangerous because the world outside your climate-controlled bubble is not getting softer. It is getting harder. The economy is becoming more volatile. Technology is moving faster than human adaptation. The chaos of reality is increasing. But you have spent years training yourself to be weak. You have optimized your life for comfort right at the moment when you need to be most resilient. You are like a glass sculpture walking into a hailstorm. You have traded your strength for a subscription service, and you are terrified of what happens when the connection gets cut. You are not just comfortable, you are defenseless. Consider the monthly salary. We view it as a transaction, time for money, but biologically it functions much more like a narcotic. It is the ultimate comfort drug. A salary is a predictable, consistent dose of resources that completely removes the panic of survival from your life. For 30 days, you do not have to worry about where your next meal is coming from. You do not have to hunt. You do not have to kill. You do not have to innovate. You simply have to show up and perform a set of repeatable tasks, and the resources appear in your bank account like magic. This predictability is addictive. Once your brain gets a taste of the steady drip, it begins to rewire itself around that security. You start to build a life that requires that specific dosage to function. You sign a 30-year mortgage, you finance a car, you upgrade your lifestyle exactly to the limit of your paycheck. You have now constructed a golden cage where the door is locked not by force but by your own dependency. But there is a darker mechanics at play here. It is called the threshold of sedation. Employers and corporations are not evil. They are simply efficient optimization machines. They have calculated with mathematical precision the exact amount of money required to keep you in the chair. It is a delicate balance. If they pay you too little, the pain of poverty will force you to quit and find a new job. But if they pay you too much, you might accumulate enough capital to buy your freedom and leave the workforce entirely. So the system settles on a perfect equilibrium, just enough to keep you comfortable but never enough to set you free. It is a calibrated sedation. You are paid to forget your own potential. The tragedy of this arrangement is not the economics. It is the atrophy of your spirit. The longer you stay hooked up to the salary of Foydrip, the more terrifying the concept of the wild becomes. In the wild, you eat what you kill. If you don't perform, you starve. This is a high-stress environment, but it is also the environment where human potential is maximized. It is where you learn to hunt. But after a decade of receiving a guaranteed paycheck, your hunting instincts degrade. You forget how to generate value from scratch. You forget how to negotiate with reality. You lose the ability to tolerate the uncertainty of the hunt. Eventually, the idea of starting a business or striking out on your own stops looking like an opportunity and starts looking like madness. You look at the entrepreneur and you don't see freedom. You see danger. You have become the zoo animal that is afraid of the open jungle. You have traded your autonomy for anxiety-free evenings and weekends. But deep down, you know the truth. You know that the safety is an illusion. A salary doesn't protect you from the chaos of the world. It just delays the impact. One merger, one AI breakthrough, one economic downturn, and the drip stops. And because you have spent years in the comfort of the cage, you have no idea how to survive when the door is suddenly kicked open. You are sedated, you are comfortable, and you are defenseless against the reality that is waiting outside the office window. There is a specific equation that governs all human transformation. It is not based on willpower, and it is not based on motivation. It is based on pain. The equation is simple. Change only happens when the pain of staying the same becomes greater than the pain of changing. If the pain of staying the same is a 3 out of 10, and the pain of changing is a 7 out of 10, you will never change. You will simply complain, but you will stay exactly where you are. Physics dictates it. You will follow the path of least resistance. This is where the trap of modern comfort becomes lethal. Comfort acts as a powerful anesthetic. It artificially numbs the pain of staying the same. You might hate your job, but the office chair is ergonomic, the coffee is free, and the commute is air-conditioned. You might feel unfulfilled, but the Netflix series is engaging and the delivery food is warm. The comfort lowers the pain signal just enough to keep you below the threshold of action. It keeps you in a state of suspended animation where you are not quite happy enough to live, but not quite miserable enough to leave. This brings us to the most dangerous concept in the modern world: the slow rot. We are biologically wired to react to catastrophe. If a tiger attacks you or your house catches fire, your amygdala screams, adrenaline floods your system, and you move. You react. But we have no biological trigger for slow, gradual decay. If you gain 1 pound of fat a year, no alarm bell rings. If your skills become 1% more obsolete every month, no siren sounds. You are not failing loudly, you are failing quietly. You are rusting. This is the midlife. It is a life defined not by tragedy, but by a lack of intensity. It is the danger of being fine. Being fine is a trap. If you were miserable, you would do something. If you were broke, you would hustle. But you are fine. You are simmering in a pot of water that is slowly heating up, and because the temperature change is gradual, you never jump out. You just sit there, smiling, scrolling, and slowly cooking to death. But the trap is not just internal. It is enforced by everyone around you. We live in a society of mimetic comfort. When you try to wake up, when you try to introduce friction or ambition into your life, the tribe will try to pull you back down. They will use the language of toxic compassion. They will say, "Take it easy." They will say, "You work too hard." They will say, "You deserve a break." Do not listen to them. They are not trying to save you. They are trying to save themselves. When you try to escape the cage, it highlights the fact that they are still sitting in it. Your ambition makes them uncomfortable because it exposes their atrophy. They want you to stay in the pot. They want you to agree that the water isn't boiling. They want you to sedate yourself with the same distractions they use, so they don't have to face the reality of their own slow decay. You have to realize that the feeling of safety you have right now is a hallucination. The water is getting hotter. The economy is shifting. The skills that keep you fine today will be useless tomorrow. The pain of change is real, yes. It is scary to quit the job, to start the business, to hit the gym, to break the routine. But the pain of regret is infinite. Do not wait for the catastrophe to wake you up. Do not wait until you are boiled. You have to lower your tolerance for fine. You have to reject the anesthetic. You have to choose the sharp, clean pain of growth over the dull, aching rot of comfort. So, how do we escape? We cannot go back to the Stone Age. We cannot uninvent the refrigerator or the internet. We cannot force society to become dangerous again just to suit our biology. Since the world will no longer provide the friction you need to survive, you must manufacture it. You must become the architect of your own struggle. This concept is called voluntary hardship. It sounds counterintuitive. Why would anyone choose to suffer when comfort is available? You choose it because it is the only way to signal to your body and mind that they are still needed. You have to artificially simulate the wild within the safety of the city. You have to hack your own operating system. This starts with the physical. You introduce the shock of cold exposure. When you step into an ice bath or a freezing shower, your brain panics. It thinks you have fallen into a frozen lake. It dumps dopamine and adrenaline into your bloodstream. It wakes up. You practice fasting. You simulate the scarcity of the hunt. You let yourself feel true hunger, sharpening your focus and clearing the fog of digestion. You lift heavy weights. You simulate the burden of gravity, forcing your bones to harden and your muscles to adapt. These are not acts of vanity, they are acts of biological maintenance. You are reminding your DNA that you are still a dangerous animal, but the physical is just the training ground for the mental. You must seek out professional friction. You have to have the difficult conversation you have been avoiding. You have to launch the project that might fail. You have to stand on a stage and speak. You have to trigger the fear response and then move forward anyway. You are recalibrating your risk tolerance. You are teaching your brain that uncertainty is not a threat to your life, but a requirement for your growth. There is a Stoic paradox that governs this entire philosophy. Easy choices, hard life. Hard choices, easy life. If you choose the easy path, the couch, the comfort food, the silent compliance at work, your life will become hard. You will become physically weak, financially fragile, and mentally anxious. But if you choose the hard path, the discipline, the risk, the friction, your life becomes easy. You become strong enough to carry the load. You become resilient enough to weather the storm. The glass walls of your enclosure are thick, and they are beautiful. They are made of salary, safety, and social approval, but they are brittle. You do not need a revolution to escape, you just need to pick up a rock. The moment you decide to accept pain as a necessary input for growth, the glass shatters. You step out of the climate-controlled cage and into the rain. It is cold, it is dark, it is uncertain. But for the first time in years, the air tastes clean. You shiver not from weakness, but from the rush of energy. You are no longer the sedated tiger pacing in the circle. You are awake. You are free. And you are finally, terrifyingly, alive.